Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We're focusing in a little bit more in depth on understanding the connection of emotions, meaning, behavior, and relationships within a psychopathic individual who might be someone that you had an encounter with, someone you might have been engaged to, dating, married to, or had a family with, or has a sibling. And first of all, I want to give a huge shout out to those of you who made a recent donation to me and the channel. I want to let you know how much gratitude and how good that makes me feel that I'm providing some sort of content and value that makes sense to you. It is very validating to me, and your donation helps keep this channel going and helps let me know that we're providing meaningful and valuable content that you can apply to your life. That's the whole goal. That's the whole purpose. And I hope I'm serving you to help you get to the other side of the situation, help you gain a better understanding, and basically, let it rest, let it have its place, and furthermore, know that you're protected and moving on, going forward through a raising of awareness and tools to help manage and understand that. So thank you so much for your donations. It really makes me feel good and helps validate the work that I'm doing and encourages me to keep going. So thank you for that vote of encouragement. I really appreciate that. I do want to go a little bit more in depth on the personality composite of a psychopath and how they relate to and target others. So in the initial phase with a psychopath, an individual who initially is very charming, very oftentimes has a wonderful carriage about them. They can be very strong, silent, they can be outgoing, they can be kind of come off as a risk taker, someone who's thrilling and exciting, and you feel instantly like you're having fun with this individual, and you feel like this is the answer to your prayers, and this is your new best friend, and you want to be with them all the time, and life all of a sudden turns around a 360, and you're going places, you're doing fun things, you're having wild, crazy get-togethers, etc., and you feel like you're communicating great with them, and everything's to be just so peachy keen. I mean, things seems like they couldn't get any better, and so really you feel like this person is just fit right perfectly into your life, like a kid glove, like they just have this perfect place, and you have so much joy, I would say, in the beginning. And this is basically what is known as the love bombing phase of the psychopath, where basically they're targeting somebody, they have their scope on somebody, they have their eyes on somebody, and it's something that they want or are attracted to, and not necessarily to have a meaningful relationship or to have a mutual exchange. It's just more to keep them amused, entertained, basically to help them get from A to B to C, and really there's no building in a relationship with these individuals. The manipulation will continue with certain people who they will keep going on for months, weeks, years. Some of it might be very short-lived, some of it might go on for longer, but usually there's going to be an element where this individual is exposed, or you're feeling like there's just something a little bit off, and in this little something off might have been something very intriguing in the beginning, where, this person seems to treat you in such a special way, or take you to special places, give you special gifts, or you feel such special things when you're with them. You feel like it's their mind opening, they're broadening to you. The way that they, seem to be so courageous, so charming. They just they don't have the same anxieties. They seem to be kind of fearless, a little bit reckless. They seem to violate boundaries and get away with things. And, this can seem very exhilarating and spontaneous and rewarding for you. And little by little, you don't realize it, but it's like eroding your sense of reality, and it's kind of your sense of focus and really kind of attunement to your own inner voice with what's real and what's not real. And I want to share with you how this kind of plugs into the topic that we've been focusing on here, which is that of semantic aphasia, or really the emotional meaning in life purpose that a psychopath will resonate in. And this is really responsible for a lot of that flipped behavior, and part of the devaluation and discard, and then furthermore the fear and terror that you feel when you are letting go of this person, or no longer being duped or satisfying that addiction of that adrenaline rush, that dopamine rush, which they have gotten you addicted to. And it is very deliberate. It is very calculating. They know their impact on people. They know how they're manipulative, and a psychopath, might often, say strange things out of context, like, I'm wondering if I can use this, in my business. I mean, they'll say these things, and you're like, use what, and they're very well aware that they have a different sort of perspective on things, and they tend to think that this makes them superior, better than, above everybody, above the law. And above everybody, and I mean everybody. They feel that because they don't have this natural inclination to have a set of morals with which they act by, a certain emotional contact with which they connect to, everything is basically meaningless to them. Everything is basically purposeless. Everything is basically an object. So a lie is just as good as the truth. So why not lie if it can just get you what you want? It's just, it has the same meaning to them. It has the same tone. It doesn't make any difference if they lie. It doesn't, to them, it's, and that's why when they start to lie, and they will lie on a daily basis, and they'll kind of lie with the way that they treat people, and then they'll see people falling for them, and they'll be like, oh my God, this person is so easy. They just fell for me. And then that's why, then they'll call you by your nickname. Look at this person. They're just, I completely am pulling one over, and they're like, this is hilarious. This is great. Come on, let's go. I mean, this is what they're doing. They don't have the emotional connection. They don't have the morality. They don't have the idea that, you have to work to earn somebody's trust, and that you have to, be a person of moral and principle. I mean, the things that I learned in school, I mean, having studied psychology and English, as well as having a father who was part of an enforcement for a government agency, basically I was part of my training was that of learning and studying all the texts with even, multiple cultures about, being a person of integrity, being a person of value, certain do unto others as you would have do unto them. I mean, all sorts of texts and things that I've read that, talk about character development and being a person of integrity, of morals, of, it's just that whole kind of societal, viewpoint and what makes societies function and how to be that contributing member. So that's kind of like what I've studied and what I have ingrained. Now, the psychopath, this is not what it's about for, this is not what life is about for them. In fact, they have no reservoir, they have no foundation, they have no soil with which that seed grows. Now, they might see that people say, well, that's wrong, and then they'll kind of mimic that, but they, will just kind of, that's wrong, huh? Okay. And they just don't really, it doesn't really, they're not going to come out and say, well, I'm a psychopath. I don't really care. I mean, they're not going to tell you that, so they just don't, have the emotional meaning, to like relationships, like to be there for you, to, get to know your family, like, things that might be quote unquote important to you or part of a natural evolution of a relationship, they don't have that same meaning. It's just like, they would just as soon keep certain real parts of a relationship separate and alienate those and not do those because, it's a chance maybe they're not very experienced in that, or it's just not interesting to them. They would rather and just keep it the two of you and you guys just have sex or do this or that or whatever is amusing to them versus being, real, because that to them is not very stimulating, arousing, and they're not going to be interested. So I think it's very important to understand that they don't really feel these same emotions, and that furthermore, the relationships don't really happen to them the way that relationships happen to the common person who has empathy, who has love, a heart, etc. Relationships don't happen to them in the same way. They just kind of look as people very kind of similar, like on a spectrum of like objects, like, basically, this is my companion for this, or this is my outlet for that, or this is who I get sex here, or here are my this there. I mean, it's very, very objectified. In fact, they kind of observe people as just really like objects. So when you really think about that, that's really kind of eerie. And then, they do often, it's the emotions are more for show. And so when we talk about the charm, the emotions are for show. They're not a feeling. I mean, so if you think about some of the great orators, the people like Martin Luther King, I have a dream. I mean, this guy was not putting on a show. This guy was speaking from his heart. He's the real deal. He's the real juice. He's the real DNA. I mean, one of the most moving speeches of all time that gives people the goosebumps, that have been able to move masses of people and lift people's hearts up and just, get them to feel such open love and open arms and emotion. And I can even, start to feel my eyes tear up now when I think about this man and the courage that it took for him to come from poverty or feeling bigotry or feeling hate or being racially oppressed, for him to come out and speak out about that. I mean, it brings tears to my eyes. That is feeling, that is courage, that is true inspiration. Okay, that's emotional connection. Martin Luther King, that was not a show. I mean, he made lasting change. That's a lasting imprint and signature that he's made on life. Now, a psychopath, it's not happening. I mean, if you look at what's going on in the U.S. right now, we have protesters filling the streets. And I'm not, saying that our current president, Mr. Trump, is a psychopath. I'm not making any allegations. I've made one video about that, and I got a lot of negative comments. I'm not going into religion or philosophy here, or religion and politics here on this channel. But I'll tell you one thing: there are thousands of protesters in the U.S. who are basically holding up signs, not my president, and love Trump's hate and all this, I mean, so anyway, I think you're just trying to get my drift here from what I'm trying to explain, is that the emotion and display of a psychopath is just used for show. It's not a genuine connection. So I hope that will give you some insight as to, who you're dealing with if you're dealing with a psychopath. And so often, and so I think it's very important to understand that when you are going through, and this is a lot of the point of the video, is when you are going through a relationship or devaluation and discard, or the exposure with this relationship, when you let them go and you feel this empty terror, when you feel like you've basically just fallen in love with this complete illusion, and you feel this meaninglessness or purposelessness to your life, like the floor drops out from under you, that very much is kind of like an energetic projection from the emotional landscape of this individual, which is beyond barren, which is beyond cold, which is beyond really a term that I don't think we really have one quite yet in the English language, that kind of describes this interspecies predator and really the aftermath of their destruction. It's I think brainwashing or gaslighting begins to tap into it. But that, if you have experienced that really discomfort, that post-traumatic stress syndrome, afraid to go outside, you're distrusting kind of your emotions, your emotions are wiring and causing you to do crazy things, or you feel very afraid and you feel very paranoid and suspicious and panicky. And this is because you are picking up on this in reality, with this individual, and the fact that there's no life, it's just kind of this devoid, almost empty reservoir of no purpose, and no meaning. And so you've come close to this energy, and you're now coming away from it, and you're trying to restore this normalcy. So that's why I talk about how important it is to resensitize yourself and realize that that energy is just an aftermath. Trying to, your body's trying to process it and come to terms with it. So I hope this video helps you to come to terms that it's because you feel that sort of fear, or a lot of people might feel suicidal, or very crippling, like they can't work anymore. They don't know what their life is about. They don't know where to turn. They feel like they've lost connection with their families because you've kind of lost an emotional connection with yourself. Like all of a sudden, everything doesn't mean anything. And that's very, very scary. And I have good news for you, that is going to subside with time. That is going to get better with time. That's how real and that's how important it is to not entertain the likes of these individuals. And furthermore, please use the tools here that I discussed on this channel. You can call me for a consultation. I'd be happy to help you. Please work through the tools that we discussed to help basically recalibrate you and get you back to homeostasis and get you back to that empowered state where you're better than ever after having met this type of, let's just call it energy that exists as part of a life lesson. Remember those lessons learned, and that will get you back on track. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.